I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. A very warm welcome to all of you to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. And for those of you who have turned on their videos, thank you. Special thank you, Vijayji, Samji, Chiragji, Levaniji, and our usual suspects. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. I don't know what's going on. Okay. All right. Hope you are able to see my screen. We'll get started with our opening prayers. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Right, Radhe Radhe everybody. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Let's get started. Today we are going to discuss a concept. It is one of those spiritual concepts that is often misunderstood, depending upon who you are talking to. So people come across this concept and then they say, this world is Mithya. Mithya means something that does not exist. And that is something we are going to talk about today, to look at this concept in perspective. Is Jagat Mithya? A lot of people say that, and they say that it's like a dream. It's not real. And when you wake up, the dream is finished. And this whole hallucination that you had about this world is finished. So we'll look at this concept today so that we understand it a little deeper. So let's get started. I'm going to recite this shloka. We'll probably pick 3 hands today. Not many, because we have a hard stop today and we have a presentation as well. So I want to make sure we are able to give it time as well as have a little bit of discussion on the topic that we go through as well. So probably 3 hands, top 3. I'd let our co-host decide that. Nasato vidyate bhavo Na bhavo vidyate sataha Ubhayorapi drishtontaha Tvanyostu tattvadarshibhihi. All right. Who are the brave ones today for the second big words that we have? Drishtonta, Tvanyostu tattvadarshibhihi.
Radhe Radhe Levaniji, please go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes. Sakha Shridama. Okay, I can imagine who's that. Sakha Madhu Angal. All right. Let's start. Yes, please.
Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, uphayorapi drishtontaha, stvannayostatvadarshibihi.
Wonderful, Levaniji. That was pretty awesome for the first time. You get the best debut award for this, I must say that. Wonderful. Let's take 2 more hands.
Radhe Radhe Sandhya-ji.
Radhe Radhe. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi trishtontaha, tvanyostattvadarshibhihi.
That was wonderful. Very nice. I think yesterday Ashutosh ji became Sakhi and today Samji is returning the favor by becoming a Sakha. So that's good going. All right, go ahead. Maybe we can take 1 more.
Radhe Radhe Riya-ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe Riya ji.
नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोत स्तो सवनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः.
Wonderful.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe, thank you. If we have only 3 more hands, we can quickly take them, but freeze because we have a lot of content plus a presentation to come up.
Radhe Radhe, Pragi ji, please go ahead.
Real quick,
राधे
Pragi.
राधे सॉरी ना नासतो विद्यते भावो न भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तः सत् सत्त्वन्योस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः.
Yeah, it's Dishton Taha and Twan is other. So Sir, the small Sir that used to, it comes in Santhi. So it's Taha and then Twan. That is where that Sir comes. So, yeah, Dishton Taha.
दृष्टोऽन्तः
Twan and then the next.
दृष्टोऽन्तः स्वन् त्वन्. Okay, thank
All
you.
right, let's quickly take 2 more hands and then we'll get started.
Radhe Radhe, Sakha Madhu Mangal ji.
राधे राधे
Radhe Radhe.
नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तस्त्वन्योतत्त्वदर्शिभिः.
Very nice, thank you, Sakhaji. Okay, who's the last one?
We have only 2 hands, so can we take
Okay,
both?
let's quickly take both then. No more then.
Radhe Radhe, Vijay ji, please go ahead.
नाभो विद्यति भावो न भावो विद्यति सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तः वान्योस्तत्त्वदर्शिभः.
Very nice, thank you, Vijayji. Wonderful. Glad you took initiative. Okay, are we good? Everybody?
Yes, I think there was one more. Radhe Radhe, Sam ji, please go ahead. Sakha, I forgot the name.
I think she changed her mind.
Okay. No problem.
All right, no worries. So in this shloka, Lord is saying that of the transient there is no endurance, and of the eternal there is no cessation. This has verily been observed by the seers of the truth after studying the nature of both. So there are 2 operative words here, transient and eternal. Something which is temporary and something which is eternal. Something which is sat and something which is asat. Okay. This is what we are going to discuss today. Okay, so let's get into that. Like I said, you may come across this theory where people will say this Jagat is Mithya. Especially in Gyan Marg, this example keeps on getting narrated multiple times. That this world is like, it's actually a rope. And because of ignorance, this rope is seeming like a snake. When there is light, you would realize this was not a snake. And it's this life, as it unfolds, is like a dream. And when you get over this dream, when wakeful state, it never existed. So this is all as Mithya that you see around you. Okay, this is what the theory is. It's important to know. That's why I picked this shloka, because if these theories come, that can confuse you. Okay. And somebody will come with full confidence and narrate that, but let's put it in perspective today. So this is what we are going to talk about today. Is this world temporary or this world is unreal? Which one of this is true is what we're going to talk about. So let's get started. Before that, let's look at the triad we looked at today. I've made that correction to Samji. So Chintan part has gotten promoted today. Okay, it has moved to the second one. And Manan, anyways, there. So the first part is called Shravan. Shravan is where you listen or acquire knowledge. The second part is called the reflection aspect of it, which is Manan and Chintan. Both are synonymous. And third is the Nididhyasan part of it, which is meditation, implementation. I'll talk about that a little bit, not too much in detail. The key thing here to understand is, I gave the example of a gulab jamun. It could be anything else. Basically, it is said that the Shravan part of it is hearing about the truth. The Chintan Manan aspect of it is contemplating on the truth. And implementation or meditation is basically the realized truth, when you meditate upon the truth itself. Okay. And what is truth? The scriptural Mahavakyas, basically from the scriptures, they are all the truth. So it said you listen to this knowledge, you contemplate. When you do the first two steps, the third would be a natural consequence of it. It will automatically take you to that, because you can meditate on something only when you are convinced it has gone deeper, it has become a realized knowledge for you. Right? And then you do that. In fact, as in Shankaracharya, he had told about this. He said, Shrute Shat Gunam Vidyan Mananam Mananadapi Nididhyasam Lakshya Gunam Anantam Nirvikalpakam. What does it mean is that the first step that we talk about, right, which is listening, the contemplation is 100 times superior than that. So if you contemplate, it is 100 times superior than that. Okay. And furthermore, if you do implement meditation, meditate on it, that is 100 times more superior than even the contemplation. So that is how deep it goes. And meditation is basically when you start putting it in your DNA. Okay. That is when you do the meditation. That's what essentially what it means. You're obviously realizing that it becomes a truth for you. It's a wisdom at that point. It's not just mere knowledge. It starts with knowledge, listening to that. Then you do contemplation. Like I said, the example that our scriptures give us is called rumination, like cow does. Cow has 6 stomachs. It puts the grass and keeps nibbling it and rotating it through all the 6 stomachs to, that is how its digestive process works. That is the second aspect of it. And then you meditate and implement basically that part. Okay, that is called the Nididhyasan. It's like now not only know the recipe, but you have tasted it as well. So obviously taste is 100 times more than thinking about the recipe and basically realizing what you have actually cooked or realized. So that is how this process goes. We cover all the aspects of it in our session. But that's what I wanted to do. Let's start with the Shravan aspect of it, understanding this concept of Mithya and Asat. Now, philosophers, there are always philosophers. They claim that word is Mithya or non-existent. And it is said just because of the ignorance we perceive it. And once we are situated in Brahma Gyan, which is the knowledge of the Supreme, the world will cease to exist. It will cease to exist for you. It's like waking up from your dream. It never existed. Okay, this is the theory. Now, if it was true, then world should not have remained even for the God-realized saints. Why do they come and descend here and operate with us? It should have ceased to exist for them, right? And it should have stopped existing for them as well. So when these saints came, they wrote books even after realizing God, completing their God realization process. Where did the paper and pen come from? And even the objects that are used by Brahmagyanis, that proves that the world exists. Even Brahmagyanis need food to nourish their bodies. They should not be needing food, right? If everything was an illusion, why the need for food and anything, or for that matter, writing books and everything like that? Maharaj has reconciled this concept very beautifully. I'll explain that to you. Okay. Now they need to eat food, as we said. Why would they eat? Even Vedic scriptures say that they're like animals do. Even God-realized saints, they have to nourish their body, material body. And our Vedic mantra also says that God not only created this world, but also permeates every atom of it. Every atom is permeated by God. And if God is permeating every atom in the world, our scriptures are telling us, God himself has declared that, then how can world have no existence? That means we are saying God is Mithya himself, even though he's permeated, but he's actually an illusion. So it is to contradict that God pervades the world. In this verse, Lord Krishna is saying world actually exists. Okay, so you can pinch yourself and say, yes, this is real. This is not an hallucination. But it is fleeting. It is temporary. So there is a difference between asat and temporary. When in this Nasato Vidyate, God is talking about asat aspect. Asat means it is temporary. It is fleeting. It is transient. Not that it does not exist at all. There is a huge difference between these two. It does exist. It is not Mithya. It very much exists. Okay. So this is the key concept to be understood. Maharaj has reconciled this philosophy very nicely. He said, the external world you see, It exists very much. It is real. Although it is transient, but it is real. The inner world, that is unreal. So yes, he said that when we talk about the world being unreal, that is your inner world, which is unreal. This big world that we create. That same object giving us happiness, somebody's neutral, somebody's having a envy feeling, that world is unreal. And when we finish that world through our antakaran shuddhi, that's when we are liberated or we gain the eligibility for liberation. So external world, real, very much exists. Internal world, mithya. It's non-existent. It's a creation. We create that world, looking at things because of our feelings, sanskars, and whatnot. Okay, that is the concept. Let's move on. Now, you look at this. There's a writing, there's a beautiful writing you came across. It implies a writer. You came across a writing, it implies a writer. You come across this beautiful painting. Painting implies a painter. Isn't it logical? Then you come across this painting, creation, beautiful creation that we see, that implies a creator. It's a very simple logic. If you have creation, then creator has to be there. Like a painting has a painter, writing has a writer, poetry as a poet, kind of a deal. Now, let's look at this concept a little more, creation aspect of it, right? Our science would have us believe that, boom, something just, and it came about, right? Involuntary, almost like an involuntary thing that happened all by itself. Let's tackle that as well logically. So we will look at something very simple. This is something which is created by humans. Pot is created by human. It's a very simple thing that comes into existence. Now, does it come into existence all by itself? What are the different things that are needed for pot to come into existence? Let's look at that. What do we need? We need raw material, soil for that. Without that, it will not come about. Okay, if you have soil, is it good enough? No. We need the instrument also on which this pot has to come about. Now you got the soil and the instrument, is that good enough? There is something else also which is needed. What? Potter is needed as well. If you don't have a potter, it will not fall on the pot and start doing all the gymnastic all by itself and come out, getting created all by itself. So you need a potter also. Is this good enough? All these three things are good enough. If you have a potter, instrument, and raw soil, what else is needed? Yes, Aarti ji.
Radhe Radhe, Hariom Nitinji. We
Hariom.
require two things. One is the knowledge how to make the pot, and second, the desire to make the pot.
Beautiful, very nice. So let's look at this. So these three things are good. You need skill also. If you don't have a skill, the pot will not come about. Then, even if all these things are there, still there is something else that is needed. What is else? Intent. What if the potter is not in a mood? We spoke about the question, right? You don't feel like, I don't have the motivation to do that. There's an intent. Prayojan also is needed. This is good enough. And then everything is there. If it doesn't perform an action, still it will not come about. So if something as basic as a pot requires 6 things to fall in place, 6 things to fall in place. Now we are talking about creation here. Okay, it's not an accident, mere accident, where you can just assume this thing came all by itself. Somebody needs to have the material, instrument, the skill, the prayojan, and the power also to execute that action. That is, so many things are required. But God is called Satya Sankalp. He doesn't have to do all these things. He desires and it happens. Okay, that is why God is called Satya Sankalp. We are not Satya Sankalp. The problem with our Sankalps is, see, when we start making a Sankalp, there's a book called, I think, Sign or something. I read that long back. So when you make a Sankalp, the whole universe starts conspiring to support that Sankalp. Okay, movies say that. That is a fact actually. The problem with our sankalp is after a while we'll have a doubt. Maybe, maybe not. Will I do it? Will I not do it? Or maybe I should change my plan. Or I don't know if I'll be able to do it. So we are not Satya Sankalp. So, great, if you really put your mind to something and decide that you will do it, you can do that actually. But our Sankalp is not so strong. God's Sankalp is called Satya Sankalp. He desires and it happens. Creation comes about. He looks at, glances at Prakriti and Mahan Ahankar, Panch Tanmatras, Panch Mahabhuta, everything just comes about. That is how his Sankalp is strong. Of course, he has the material skill and everything, right? So this is what we create is temporary. What God creates, let's look at that part as well. That is also temporary. The world is. But I just brought about just so that we can appreciate that this has been created. It's not Mithya. Okay. This now the other aspect of it is, let's look at this. This mirage aspect of the world. The deer keeps on looking at the water. This part of the world, this mirage or the shadow or reflection that you think it is real. It is not real, right? This is unreal part of it. So this is called Asat. This is Asat aspect of it, right? When we see that, so the world part of it, let's look at the complete difference between these two things now. Okay. So what is Sat or eternal? Let's put it in. So God is everlasting. He is Sat. God, one of the attributes of God is Sat, right? He's called Sat Chit Anand. So he is Sat. He is full of eternal, full of knowledge and ocean of bliss. On the other hand, the soul is imperishable. Although it is imperishable, it is also Sat. We are also Sat. Right? We have spoken about this concept. We are also Sat. God is also Sat. The soul is, there's a difference between God and soul in that case, because God is Sat Chit Anand. Another way of calling God is, you can qualify it with Vibhu Sat, Vibhu Chit, Vibhu Anand. And we are Anu Sat, Anu Chit, Anu Anand. Can we be present in two locations at the same time? Do we know everything that is there to be known? No, right? So that is why we are called Anu and God is called Vibhu. So there is a difference here. Although we are also Sat, let's understand that part. We are also Sat. Now Asat, what is Asat? The body that we have, it will cease to exist one day. This is called Asat, temporary. Okay, so this is the difference. We are Sat, the body that we have is Asat. The entity Maya from which the world has been created is also eternal. Nobody can finish off Maya. Right? People say that why doesn't God finish Maya? No, this is an eternal entity. Jeev, Brahm and Maya. These are all three eternal entities. Nobody has created anything and nothing will cease to exist ever. They are always going to continue. We can transcend Maya, but Maya will continue. Okay? Maya will not have any effect on us once we become God realized. Right? Yesterday, Manoranjan ji were asking that what is liberation? Liberation is going beyond Maya. When Maya is no longer applicable to you, which is another word, it is called Jivan Mukta state as well. There are multiple stages even after liberation. That is a topic for another day. But liberation means when you are liberated from the cycle of birth and death. You are no longer obligated to come back into this world. And even while living, like you and I, in flesh and blood, you would be Jivan Mukt. These people are called Vide. They don't even have a sensation. They have transcended their bodies also. So if you operate on them, they will not feel anything. They don't need anesthesia for that matter. And they can actually decide which chakra to, exit this body when the death or leaving this body comes. They can leave their life years in full consciousness. Unlike us, where our mind will get disturbed until we become God realized. Hope that Asat Sat difference is coming around. The world itself is fleeting or Asat. Okay, body is Asat, world is also Asat. Maya is Sat, we are also Sat, God is also Sat. I hope that difference is coming out very clearly. So what is Mithya then? This is Mithya. Okay. All the emotions that you go through anger, excitement, jealousy, depression, sadness, in all these emotions that our inner world is creating, it is Asat. This is Mithya, sorry, not Asat. Okay. So this is basically Mithya. It falls into Asat category in the way they are temporary and transient, but this is Mithya. The inner world is basically Mithya. That is created by us only. And we have to finish off our inner world to get beyond Maya. The whole purpose of spirituality is to fix our inner world. How will we fix it? By fixing our Antakaran. How will we fix our Antakaran? By cleaning our mind. How will we clean our mind? By attaching it to something which is clean. What is clean in this world? God and Guru. Right? Simple principle. And buck stops at cleaning your mind. So this whole game is played between the six inches space between our ears. That's all. You can always remember that. You don't have to go too far to fix yourself. Just fix your mind and you will be fixed. Learn to mind your mind, because mind has a mind of its own. Okay, so that's all needs to be minded and fixed. Okay, so let's move on. So we'll continue to do a bit of Manan. Now, what makes human body alive? We said that the human body is gross body. It is temporary, Asat. Okay, so this is a human body. What makes it alive is soul, which is us. This makes it alive. It is seated near our heart region and it permeates consciousness is a symptom of the soul. It permeates consciousness in the rest of our body. It makes it alive. Just like when you apply sandalwood paste on your forehead, it cools down your body. Okay, that is how soul works. And somebody would ask, okay, if it is seated in my heart, if I do my heart transplant, will the soul get transplanted? No, it will not. Okay, it doesn't work that way. It's a very subtle thing and it is mapped to a particular body only. Soul is not transferable from one body to another. Okay, it is transferable when you exit this body, not before that. So the soul makes it alive. And the other, what is the source of energy for the soul? That is God Himself. Okay. Now, if you look at it, this is the relationship. Now, what is the difference between satsang and asatsang? Let's think deeply now. Satsang would mean you are associating to something which is eternal. That becomes satsang. Asatsang means you are associating to something which is temporary. And now comes our relationships and our fascination for our own body and our relatives and parents and kids and all the things of the world. If your mind is meditating upon it, it is doing nididhyasana on asat things, then that becomes asatsang. If you're meditating on something which is eternal, which is God, that becomes satsang. Very simple concept. Because we are focusing too hung up, too attached to this body and the extensions of this body, which is our friends, our relatives, parents, kids, whatever. It is a satsang for most part. And God says your object of meditation, whatever you hook your mind to, is what you will end up getting. So because we are focusing on temporary things, we keep on getting temporary things. And then we cry, we got it temporary as if it was always supposed to be permanent. Right? The very fact that we mourn things is like, I had an expectation at least, this should have happened. No, when the very definition of this world or this body is asat, temporary, how can we continue to be naive to expect it to last forever? This is a very important concept to understand. It put grief in perspective as well. It's very difficult, but we form those associations with asat things, temporary things, and then that basically troubles us in long run. So gradually we have to gravitate towards satsang and move away from asat by truly understanding the nature of this world, truly understanding the nature of this body that we are renting for a short amount of time, not something which is temporary. By understanding the transient nature of things that we get hooked onto, my house, my car, building mansions, all this stuff is asat. It is just temporary. And if it takes the mind space for most part of our life, then the end objective, the result would be asat again. You don't get sat just even though you are seeking asat. You get what you seek. And God, like an indulgent father, in this case, he's not a disciplining father. He doesn't. He said, all right, I've given you the free will, you make a choice. And like an indulgent father, if you think, this life, I could not extract that happiness from the things and relationships around me, God said, be my guest, take another turn. I'll give you another chance. Then you come and then you live the world by making some other set of desires. Then said, God says, okay, be my guest. Then some other set of desires, said, be my guest. So God is being an indulgent father, which is not helping our cause, right? And at the same time, the relationship that we are having with God is that of a perfect justice-based system. He said, all right, you continue doing that, but I have my laws that I'll have to stick by. The process of indulging and trying to extract happiness from this world, you are incurring binding karma. And for that, you'll have to bear the fruit of it as well. So unless you are doing that as part of your Karam Yoga practice, which we are going to get into 2.47, which needs to be practiced 24/7, you are still accruing binding karma around it. Okay. So let's move on. With that, we come to, so this, our scriptures say, Dwa Suparna, Sakha Samanam, Vriksham, Parishashvajate. Basically says that one tree, two birds are perched, associated as a pair. Believe it or not, you have two birds inside us, this body. One of these eats and tastes the fruit, which is us. And the other of the pair, which does not eat but just looks on, he's a silent witness. Paramatma, or the Kshirodakshai Vishnu, which is again another form of Lord Krishna. So this is how we continue lifetime after lifetime. So there is a Sat component within us, which is energized by another Sat component, but we are too hung up on the Asat aspect of it, thinking ourselves as a body and a mind, and this entire world that our inner mind has created, which we get binded, attached, and so much hooked onto. Okay. So hope Mithya Sat Asat concept is clear. Now, quick thing, I have time, maybe just a little bit more, 5 minutes I'll spend on this. Look at this river, the sediments, you see that? They are floating in this river, in this flood. Now the odds of these sediments coming together in a river flow are pretty much zero, very slim. That is how our relationships in this world are. This river is the force of time. The sediments are the relationships that come in our life, all the relationships. Those two sediments, again meeting each other, chances are pretty, there's a concept of group soul and all that, right? Sakhi Sakhas can get born together. But other than that, the odds of, relationships coming together once again are very, very slim. So with that, I will takeaways for practical implementation. I would probably we can come back after the presentation because we have a hard stop. Like I said, at 10, Manishi wanted to present something. Let's hear him out today. He's going through a lot of stuff and a lot of life lessons that we can take inspiration from. In the meantime, you can contemplate on. This is our Nididhyasana aspect of it, where we have done the Shravan, understood the theory around Sat, Asat, Mithya. We did the Manan, looking at different examples just to reinforce the concept and contemplate a little more deeper into it. And now the Nididhyasana aspect of it. So what? Okay, I've understood all this. What does it mean for my day-to-day life? Now that I've understood, this is not Mithya, this is temporary. And I've understood the difference between satsang and asatsang. What are the tweaks or adjustments that I'm committing myself to so that it helps me on my spiritual journey? Okay, that is something you can contemplate upon. We'll come back to it, but for now, I will hand it over to Manishi. Welcome, and I'm looking forward to your talk today, Manishi. Let's hear him out. He has been a regular with Bhagavad Gita session. I would love to hear from him how things are working out at his end and what he has to share today. So I'm going to stop share, Manishi.
Radhe Radhe, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have any slides or anything. I'm just gonna share my experience. So thanks Nitinji for giving me the opportunity to share. And thanks to God and Guru, and hopefully they can guide me and help me so that what I'm sharing may be able to help some of you or someone. The reason I'm sharing this is just am going to share my life struggles and my spiritual journey. And the reason is because I wanted to give hope that, Duratma and Papi like me can have the opportunity to be helped by God and have given a chance and change. Also, again, and hopefully what I'm going to share will help someone. And I'm going to share some of my childhood. I don't remember much of it. I've had a lot. It was a really painful childhood, not from my parents' side, but just I think maybe my past karmas, because it was always full of illness, sickness, and things like that. So I think God made me forget all the bad stuff and only remember a few things. So I'll share that. But as I go through my struggles, we say cat has 9 lives. Well, I think kind of God gave me so much opportunities that I feel like I have 9 lives or close to it. So I'll start what I remember is when I was very little infant. Basically the town had gathered because they thought I had died. So, and I don't know if I went unconscious or whatnot, but it was a long time before I came back. So and then the other thing is, I don't know if it was something past lives with snakes, because I had nightmares about snakes. Like when I was little, I was sleeping, I would be sleeping and I could see snakes crawling up my bed, like literally, and it was frightening me. And my poor dad would stand by the side of the bed all night with a dandu, with a real big dandu in his hand, and say, look, nothing is going to happen. I'm right here. I'm right here. And then he would sing bhajans and all that stuff to me while I was little. One of the very famous ones is the Gita bhajan, which in one of when we do chantings, I'll sing it one day. So that was with the snake. Then when I was 6, I think we went to Trinidad with my mom to in West Indies to visit my grandfather and my uncles and stuff. And we had gone swimming. And at that time, I got pulled deep into the ocean. And I think my uncle kept coming after me. So now that I realize it was God in the form of my uncle coming to save me. So otherwise I would have died, basically drowned. And when I was 8, we were playing hide and seek, and my friend came up to me and said, don't move. And so I said, why? He said, don't move and don't look back, because what he told me is there was a snake riding in the striking pose. And he said it was, if I had moved or if I did anything, it would probably with it. But with the God grace, the snake and I actually did see the snake crawling away when I turned around. So that was another life that was spared. I had gone through a lot of bullying in my own town while playing, and also at school as well. So also had a lot of sickness and diseases all throughout my childhood. Basically, there were all kinds of stuff. And my mom, she believed in all these vrat and stuff. So she was going to take me to different places, Tirth Yatra and stuff like that. And so what happened is her friend is like, just take him to 2 places. So we ended up going to Virpur, where Jalaram Bappa was born. So visited that, and Jalaram Bappa is somebody, he was a saint, but God came and asked for his wife, and Jalaram Bappa said, if you want my wife, then you take my wife. So that's just not important, but that's just thought important. the other place we went to was Shirdi, Dwarka Mai. And there's a saying that those who climb the steps of Dwarka Mai are somehow blessed. So anyways, that's all I remembered from my childhood. And then we came, when I was 11, we came to the United States. And I haven't gone back to India since. I went through the college here and became a chiropractor. Then I actually went into IT. So I'm actually an IT manager. So then I got married, and a few months after, like 3 months after, basically, we had a puja at my wife's home. Her parents had a puja, and she left to go to work. And a Volvo, I think, lady turned left while she was going straight, and to swerve, she swerved to avoid and went straight into the traffic pole. And she was basically, I think, to the grace of God, she was saved because the Acura was completely total because his pole had completely gone through the front end. Anyways, but the reason I'm sharing this is I had anger issues and very short tempered. So I used to get angry for no particular reason, just getting angry all the time. And, over time tensions and things like that, mine became my worst enemy. As I think all of you heard Manev Manushyanam Karan Bandhan Moksha. So if you let our mind control us, we become servant, and it becomes like our enemy. It brings calamity and chaos. But if we control our mind, then it can become our friend, and we can become the master, and it can bring peace and tranquility. In other words, this is what we're trying to do, is control our mind and purify our mind. In my case, the famous Bhagavad Gita slok, Krodhat Bhavati Sanmoha Smriti Brahmaha Smriti Vranshad Buddhi Nashat Pranashyati. Well, anger just brought pain and miseries in my life. I had tensions. And mine became basically my enemy, my worst enemy, because I let it. And it's my own karmic reactions. But there were things that added to, like there was business failures, tensions at home, layoffs at work, etc., all kinds of stuff. But basically, all that made me fall into 3Ds: darkness, despair, depression. And in the tamasic nature at the time, there was all these qualities. And I had hit the lowest point of my life where I said, what's the point of living? So the thought of suicide and contemplation of suicide came. But at that lowest point in my life, I think a miracle also happened, because somehow I turned towards divinity and I asked God for his guidance and help. And is the reason I'm here today, is the grace of God. This was like maybe 10 years ago. So after that, I started to learn about meditation and listen to bhajans and start to become more devotional. I was always, my parents had taught me, so after 10, I was always doing bhajan, but it wasn't like I was taking my mind to God, maybe at times, because sometimes I would just say ABC.
We lost your audio, Manishi, in between. We lost your audio. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. I think there's some problem with your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I don't know what part you heard.
Okay. I think you said that you reached the darkest, the abyss, basically, that where you thought of ending your life, right? And that's when you ended up started praying and you had some kind of a divine intervention at that point. That's, I think, till that point.
Right. So I had the thought of suicide, and then I asked God for. At that time, I did one thing right, and I asked God for help and guidance in my life, and I turned my life over to Him. So from that point on, I started listening to bhajans and anything devotional things, and I started watching Shiv Mahapuran and different episodes. So I got attached to Lord Shiva, and perhaps because he knows how to control anger, and he can bring anger he can ask for anger to come, and then he can say anger go away. I'm not sure, but somehow I got attached to the Lord Shiva, and I learned about meditation. I started doing meditation. I tried different meditations. It was very difficult at the beginning, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But I also had a hope that it will work. And I didn't realize that I did see that I read somewhere that if you practice something or do something for 21 days, it kind of becomes like a habit. So for me, it became my habit, and I was just doing it. So it became like my lifeline. And it took a long time, and I didn't know what was happening, but I just kept at it. And I know we in session we covered like a fern versus bamboo tree, right? So it's like, I think all the stuff that I went through was like it was strengthening my faith and my belief. And like a bamboo tree, it was taking time for it to spurt. And so my mental, from emotional weakness to where I was at the time in the tamasic nature, it started to change, and my mental capacity, my mental mind started becoming stronger, and started become mentally strong. And so along the way, and I've shared with you already about what I think what I went through prepared me for what was what I shared with you guys before, but some of people are new here, so I'll just share briefly. My wife was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in last year, and so that was in September. And I think what I went through prepared me for the mental strength and what we're about to approach. So basically, 6 months of treatments. We just recently had a stem cell transplant. And I think I had shared with you guys that April 1st, after the stem cell collection was done, she almost died the morning of, in front of my eyes. And I think just to make it short, it was the grace of God that helped me to save her, because it seems like the voice inside me telling me what to do to save her. And I was able to call 911. And then she was in the hospital for 3 days. And it turned out that from the stem cell collection, the water and it had leaked into her blood and into the lungs. Blood and water had gone to the lungs, so made it hard for her to breathe, called pulmonary edema. So which was also a blessing in disguise, because they were going to do a stem cell transplant where we would stay at a nearby place, and I would would have to watch if anything goes wrong after she comes back to the place from. But because of what happened, they did the stem cell in 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 inpatient. So she stayed at the hospital for 14 days. But basically, from the hospital, I was listening to the sessions, and it was giving me the strength to go on and carry on, becoming mentally strong to deal with what I was going through. And I, it's what was I going to say? The yeah, so so basically, so all the sessions and everything was it was like a blessing in disguise for me, because it helped me get through the toughest stage of my life. And also, I think I started, just devoting myself daily to, um, because I didn't come across, I didn't know about Swamiji or JK Yoga or the Nitinji sessions and at that time Essence of Swapnaji sessions or different sessions, because I only came across Swamiji's video in February. But that was also a grace of God, because it was quickly listening to the sessions, listening to Swamiji's videos. I think God led me to a guru like Swamiji, and I made him my guru. I just felt like an internal connection. I always like Bhagavad Gita, and I was listening it to online. So when I heard Swamiji's videos, and he was always mentioning Bhagavad Gita or something from the Bhagavad Gita, and that just drew the mental connection. And so that is basically it. I just wanted to share that, from the lowest point in my life, I turned to God, and through the God grace, I was showered. I felt like I was showered with so much graces in my life. That is the reason I'm here. And that is the reason I'm alive today. And then I have the opportunity to continue, and also realize that human birth is definitely very precious, and I definitely will not take it for granted. And I will make everything, most of what I left in my life, to dedicate to love God selflessly, and dedicate my life to God and Guru. And hopefully that is all I wanted to say. And yes, I do have two kids, two wonderful kids. Somebody asked. So and they're in college. So, but I just wanted to share that, and hopefully it made sense, and hopefully you'll give somebody hope that no matter what happened, never give up, believe in God, and he will show you the way. And so thank you for the time. And just like to end with the small bhajan or kirtan. तेरी मेहरबानी का है बोझ इतना कि मैं तो उठाने के काबिल नहीं हूँ। मैं जानता हूँ कि तेरे दर पे आने के, लेकिन जानता हूँ कि तेरे दर पे आने के काबिल नहीं हूँ। Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Manishi, thank you for turning over the chapters of your life with us. I know what it would have taken you to relive some of these things right from your childhood, and the ongoing challenge that you're facing right now at your home. Obviously, it takes a lot of gumption to come forward and share that and to relive that. But good thing that I was just looking, despite all the torrents that you have gone through, your faith and people can actually get polarized in these kind of situations, right? People lose faith, there is no God, become even more negative. But in your case, you've been able to get that faith, and And basically it's reinforcing that faith for you, which is a great sign, right? And you give a lot of hope that the kind of story you have told, it's like all the things that people would say, okay, I would, I don't want to face these things in life. And you've gone through that and come out of it with a renewed vigor and faith around, God, Guru, and you are able to count your blessings even in this kind of an hour where you're facing so many challenges on a day-to-day basis. And the gratitude that you have, despite all the pains that you have, that is very palpable and very commendable. So thank you so much for that. We still have about 4 minutes. If anybody wants to share anything for Manishji, and our best wishes and support with you, Manishji. Anything that you can, we can always talk. We do that occasionally, but best wishes from our side, and may God give you a lot of strength and devotion to continue with the inspiration that you have. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yes, Anitaji, you wanted to add something?
Radhe Radhe Nitinji. I am very, very thankful to Manish ji for sharing his personal story. We can learn lot of stuff from his story, like it's inspiring us, like what a person can go through so much of stuff and still be so strong in life. Like it inspires us so much. And really, really thankful for Manish ji to sharing this stuff, personal stuff, without hesitation, because we kind of all kind of not like to share some personal stuff. We will like to keep it to ourselves. Like he's openly sharing all the stuffs without any hesitation. That's a big stuff to come out and share it. So I really, really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And hopefully it provides a bit of healing for you as well, Manishi, now that you share it with the group, right? With a close group, I'm sure it provides that sense of healing as well. And you have our best wishes now. And thank you again for that. Yes, let's quickly take maybe a minute each. Radhaji and Shri Ramya.
Radhe Radhe Radhaji.
Radhe Radhe Nitinji, Radhe Radhe everyone. So thanks to Manish ji for sharing his experience. And what we understand is there is truly a calling for him, and there is truly a purpose for him, for which he has said he has survived 9 times his life. So indeed, he is somebody powerful, and he has to take it that way. His devotion has taken him closer to Swamiji and closer to God. So he should hold on strong, and he should, just that he's been an inspiration to us, he should find out his purpose in life. And I think God wants us to know something through him, and wants him to do something for the world, for the society around him. So all our best wishes and prayers to him, and let him stay strong and let him keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Radhaji. Shri Ramyaji, last but not the least, you have a couple of minutes.
Yes, thank you, Manish, for sharing your experience. I'll be praying for you all and wish your wife a speedy recovery. But what inspired me the most was throughout your story, throughout the journey, even once you never said or you never intended, like, why God did this to me, why me? That was never there. But instead of all this situation, in spite of all the situations, you always express gratitude, like God saved me through the situation. Like that was one very rare quality. If I get to even a small trouble, I used to ask God, why me? Now it is reduced, not that it has stopped, but you never told that even for one time, and you always told gratitude. So that very inspiring. Like grace of God, like you're in the right place. We are all in the right place, and thank you very much for sharing your experience.
Thank you all. Thank
Thank
you
you,
all
Shri
very much.
Ramyaji. Thank you, Manishji. Like you said, right, it will inspire people, and you can see that. The good thing is from that darkest hour that you felt, there's no point in living anymore, to the silver lining that you are seeing right now. That is jump. I don't know how many lifetimes it takes a soul to get that realization, but you have cut a corner. So, maybe you are God's one of those favorite childs that you have been tossed around so much that now you are so convinced what you want to do. You said, I want to serve God and Guru, right? So for somebody to reach that level can take, I don't know how many lifetimes. And you have cut a corner. So I think you should really feel good and positive about it. And best wishes, sending you a lot of best wishes and strength from our side. With that, thank you again, Manishji. We come to the end of today's session. I'll hand it over to Ajay and Sunil Bhai for the book club session. So Radhe Radhe, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Stay safe, stay blessed. Radhe
Thank
Radhe.
you, everyone.
Thank you, Nitin.